and think like, oh, these kids like my post, they with me. No, 90% of them don't actually want you to win. They don't want you to get any higher than they are at.
People want to buy from someone they trust. So you can definitely have goals and you can strive to achieve them. As a leader, you just make sacrifices.
You can't be as creative when you're just trying to survive.
Understand the prospect, your cadence, your tonality, helping them out find their solution of what they want.
We're live. Thanks for coming on, brother.
The word is Jackie.
Glad we finally got to do this.
We're in Spain and we're in a while ago in Leave. We've known each other for like a year.
Yeah, probably a year or more.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's actually a good place to start. So how we got connected in this whole kind of space was literally just, I mean, I was at the startup doing, some of the LinkedIn stuff I'm doing now, but obviously, I'm Brett Shop on my own. And I was coming to you guys, or coming to the offer that you were on, to see if LinkedIn would work with you guys. And now at that point, a year ago, that was kind of talk me through. I guess we're gonna get there, into more detail. But yeah, the last time I spoke, how soon was that? Like early on in your sales journey?
Yeah, that was
that like your first offer?
That was my second sales role. That was obviously when I was working with Iman, and we had the call, and that was just didn't work out, but it's good to meet you that day, and you were persistent. If you could take any lessons from Jack, it was like he was following up on our ass every day, and that's the reason that you're good at what you do right now. So we were back there. I didn't have too much of a pull, but I was respected in a sense, so where I could bring it up what you were offering to us, to our team at the time. So it was good to meet you at that stage. And
yeah, dude, that was huge for me. Because I remember I get on, basically you connect me, and then it's like we got on one call, and then I think within a matter of within 7 minutes I did 3 elevator pitches, and I had never had to sell it like that quick, which was good. Because now I tell my guys dude, it doesn't take 45 minutes to sell what we're selling. And that was one of the most dialed in, fucking all right, what do you do? How do we do this? How can we use this? All right, good.
So that's how big company work. Big companies are just you get to the point fast, because they don't need that emotional breakdown that most agencies or too far would now. But if for operating at the level and I was operating at this, so I know information quality.
I'm just calling getting pitched like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty often.
All the time.
Emails were flooded.
And was most of the stuff you guys are doing in house? Was a lot of you guys didn't obviously work with a lot of other agencies, or didn't?
We were on the content backend side. We obviously worked with some agencies for every now and then. We wanted to keep everything mostly in house. So we obviously wanted to have someone carry that vision on the journey, and that's how you build a good company and you made it today. So it was all in house. Yeah,
so I'm super excited to talk about that. We're also going to talk about obviously your sales expertise, a little bit of your background, but really where we're at right now. I mean, what would you say current day you're most excited about?
Most excited about? I'm most excited about helping me a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, helping people that either in similar countries where I'm from, or people that were similar age and similar mindset, but had a little bit extra where to go and so on. I think I've done pretty well for my age, and I think people all have the intention to do so. I'm just channeling that, to kind of giving them that information.
And then how old are you?
I'm 20.
Oh, you're 20? I've been hanging out with you all week thinking I figure we're about the same age. I'm 23. But yeah, I'm telling you, sometimes I get on the phone with people, or I get on the podcast with people, we'll do the whole interview, I have no idea how old they are, and I'll get one kid, he's like, yeah, I'm 19. And a girl I interviewed 2 weeks ago, tells me she's 19 by the end of the call. I'm no one.
I feel like the entrepreneurship space just ages you fast. I would safely say I experienced 8 to 10 years worth of business acumen, you could say, in that 1 year in that company. Everything was so fast and so technical, and we were on the ball all the time, up at 6 a.m., sleeping at 3 a.m. that we'd be grinding all the time. So that just like matured me. I'm a different person than what I was like a year ago today, as you can probably imagine. So, yeah, if you get yourself in that space and you have no other choice but to keep up or follow.
Yeah, because this whole business, digital entrepreneurship world, it's literally, I stress it so much coming from a sports background. That's all about reps.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you get, like, you could get the amount of reps in 12 months just showing up every day, as some guys get, 10 years at their 9 to 5. Yeah. And then when we talk about the earning potential, it lines up too. Because, right, like you make $10K a month just focusing on yourself for 6 months or focusing on a certain skill set.
I like that because 6 months. We had a coach who goes today, a guy asked me, like, I want to get better at closing, for example. I was like, I don't feel experienced enough yet to cop and closing the calls. And I was like, okay, that's a deal on here for a second. Like, if you want to go to the gym like a big muscle, you have to just go to the gym and lift some weights and then your muscles will come. And he took to that analogy quite well. And realistically, if you're a beginner in sales and getting into DM setting or closing, etc., just hop in the calls, hop in the DMs, you'll fuck up enough fast enough to learn what to do and what not to do, rather than like prepping, because when you're prepped, it's 3 or 4, it's a different story altogether. So just scan the call.
Yeah, stay on call, create the reps. Now, before that sales opportunity, you mentioned that was your second legit offer. What was
not legit offer. The only offer I had before was working with my parents.
Okay.
And like it was something I had on my resume, and I could have like I had experience to go into this role.
Gotcha.
But no, like I probably did like 7 cold calls altogether. Like it wasn't an offer.
Okay, gotcha. So were you making any kind of like serious money from that, or was it more?
No, literally €0.
You're 18 actually.
Yeah, so I was like, I know you have, I need this there. I'd love to just start running some. Like their business wasn't doing anything over 5 years.
And why were you pulled to it seemed like you're semi-pulled to sales, right?
Yeah, I think by went to Grand Church and entrepreneurial, they always like were trying different things, trying to make something work, and they always, instead of getting made, I don't have to go down to college or so on. I was always taught it up and maybe too cheeky in school, and I always try to find a different way to do things, and things sales reminded me, because yet again I'm like talking and getting a lot of people and understanding people. I think we did a test, it was an IQ test in an educated at that time, and it was all about like your sales skills, your chosen skills, etc. And then they had like a understanding people's emotions and well-being. And like, I only found out then, I always knew I had it in me, but I only found out then that like my understanding of how I read people and emotions and so on was like extremely high. Like I'm naturally kind of high, so I kind of just feed into that more and more and more, because that's all sales is, it's just understanding your prospect and picking up from how to feel to where they need to go, and that's just why using leverage and put it actually.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you mentioned being able to read people, be a good communicator.
Yeah.
And it's like so many people, they hop in because they think like sales is a get rich quick thing, and they have no people experience, but it's a people to people business. Yeah. Like the more someone trusts you, the more they want to buy from you.
Do you know what job you can get into before sales to get that? What job would you say? Well, one job would you say gives you everything that you need to be?
I mean, from my experience, it's working in hospitality. Nailed it. Right?
Yeah, attending and waitressing and being aware. If you're in like it's the exact same games, understanding your prospect, your cadence, your tonality, you're helping them out find their solution to what they want, and you're handling multiple things at one time, stress, etc. Like, and you're working on hours at the time. It's exactly what you sales. I think if you feel like you're not a people's person, you probably will need to become one to an extent if you want to be in sales. So get into hospitality if you don't have a job right now.
Yeah, 100%. Get into hospitality, and even if you do pick it, like when you do, you mentioned this to one of your guys today. I did a curriculum, and you guys are talking about stacking cash, and you're like, it's totally like the misconception in this space that like you're supposed to, maybe it's the Gary Vee approach. I went down this rabbit hole too when I was in college, right? Yeah. But where they're just like, drop everything, put yourself back up against the wall, and like go for it. But there's a certain level of comfort that like you can't be as creative when you're just trying to survive and constantly, especially in this like, I even call it 18 to 25 really, like gap. Like you got nothing but time on your hands.
It's a difficult one, man, because Ireland talks about, I was talking about Ireland, he said he spent, he had like 10K in the bank or whatever, and he spent like 5K in the apartment in New York, wherever his friends were, just to force himself to make something work. And I think for someone like Ireland or yourself, or anyone who's so driven and knows this is what they want to do and knows they would succeed, maybe that won't work because maybe you're naturally gifted at that and invest when you want to go into it. But if you're in a new space and you're trying to figure out what you want to do, the best thing is not to act from a place of desperation, because if you're on a sales call and you need the money, the odds are you're probably not going to connect with the person as much as you should if you didn't need the money. So I think it is better to stack cash, because if you don't need the sale, then you're also a better closer for capital. So yeah, that's a difficult one though.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now, kind of diving down we've mentioned educate a couple times here, but really diving down that experience, I would say, you spent almost 2 years, 2 years there. I mean, what was your biggest, looking back now, what would you say your biggest takeaway was from that process?
My biggest takeaway was having wingship and had to humble myself. I think going into that, there's a difference between believing in yourself and there's a difference between just being just a coffee break. And it's just, you don't have any results spent, but what you're standing for right now. So you can definitely have goals and you can strive to achieve them, but you have to humble yourself enough to actually want to be a sponge and learn from someone. So my first week in MTK, I've only told a story a handful of times. My first week in MTK there, very to the time, I was getting at the most amount of sets and etc. I ever got at the time, and it was sending into the chat, boom, 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 sets, and I hyped it up myself to an extent. And I was in the shower, and Paul, the CEO at the time, texted me, and he was like, "Look, we're just hop on Zoom." And I was like, okay, this is strange. And I hopped on the Zoom call, and tore me apart for 10 minutes. He basically said, I'm not saying this is this won't work for everyone, it worked for me, but he basically was just saying, who do you think you are? He was like, you are actually he didn't say these words, but he basically said you're worthless. We can place you right now. I'm like, you're lucky. I sack everyone on the spot. You're lucky I don't sack you right now, because Max and I think it was JJ or really someone in sales switch on the time, we really like him. He sent him work out in the shore, etc. But Paul was like, I would fire your ass right now if I was in control. You're cocky, you're arrogant, you think you're something you're not. And I had my mouth open for the whole night. I was like this. And that moment there, that changed my life. Because I was like, you need to humble yourself. You need to, I think you're the greatest. And especially when you're coming into a new base, the 48 hours of our top squad, and never trying to master. You never want to shot. You just want to do your work silently, and you will be noticed for doing your work, because your numbers will be on the board. You're going to have to notice you. So he humbled my ass. And to this day, you won't see me going around flexing anything, or if I go into a new company or working with new prospects or whatever it is, I never was cocky to them anymore. Which I definitely used to be, and he tore that out of me. So I'm grateful for that. That's probably my biggest takeaway, is that you need to humble yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's huge, because a lot of people, they're not willing to hear the hard truth, but that's where the biggest change comes. It's definitely probably not. I mean, I know what my ego was 18 to 21, and nothing. Some would say 22. Right? Yeah, maybe 23 a little bit, depending on what room I'm in, right? But yeah, no, I think it's just super valuable to hear you say that, because again, most people, they just avoid it, right? Or they get on that call, they just give them fuck you, then they come back, they think they're gonna go get the next opportunity. Yeah. But you saw the value in where you were at, and then you probably took a much more learn first approach from there. So yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I definitely like hearing about that. And you kind of mentioned, was your biggest challenge yourself then, you'd say, I guess, at that, with that experience? Or is there another kind of challenge that comes to mind, maybe even a few months in, when you did have maybe you did think you had the experience and now you did have the kind of the sustainability, but was there any obstacles that came up after you established yourself?
No, I think I think once you have the skill sets, you can apply them whatever way you want. You always hear that quote of, whether you believe in yourself or you don't believe in yourself, you're probably right. And I think it's all on your mindset, how humble you need to be. And if you got out closer to God, and there as well, that could probably be another conversation too. But finding him, that humbles you, because Christ, the most gifted man in the world, he was humble, play what the word there. But no, there wasn't any. It was I learned really fast, so I never struggled with anything else per se, but it was always the mindset of, am I worth being here? But yeah, you get over that because your results outshine that doubt in some stage.
Yeah, nice. And then so you developed from a setter into eventually sales management?
Yeah, I was a setter for like 4 or 5 months. And then me and Paul were in sauna in America, and I had like an internship. So I think at the time, he wanted to work with us. He had to go to the internship. And he was just in the sauna and did grow it. I think it's your time to be closer. I never strived to be closer. I was like, I just want to be the best in whatever I do at the current moment. And it's a natural progression to closing, which is people have a confused right now that for an SDR and they want to be closer like that. But just like be the best SDR, and I promise they're gonna question whether you should be a closer because you're that talented up an SDR. Yeah, and that means you understand the process as well. So I forget the question.
No, yeah, I was talking, biggest challenge, as far as after you kind of had established.
Oh yeah, so we were talking about closer, and yeah, I was in the sales leadership team for a while, and that wasn't like just managing the team, so it was like making pretty impactful decisions and implementations and so on. So yeah, we definitely had a key.
And for people in that role now, because obviously we'll dive into your expertise kind of throughout this. Obviously you're good and you're showcasing it as we go. I guess some advice for people in a sales management role, like how are you able to get, good results out of your people? How did you get people to respect you, especially being the fact that you're probably 19 and you guys probably had setters across the board. I'm sure you had setters, all across different age groups, but was there anything, can you talk to me about it?
100% numbers. I'm like if my numbers on the board, they're like, he knows it, I don't. So I don't want to learn from that extent that there's always someone, above me or beside me that I was also learning from too. So, I think you have someone to learn from your leader. So like if your leader is someone that you don't want to aspire to be like, or their number of something you aspire to hit, then they're not going to be a good leader. You need to showcase it in some sense. And then also when it comes to like, if you're a leader and you ask them to do something, you want to damn make sure that they should know from their point of view that you would do it if you had the time. And so that as a leader, I would ask you to pick up that orange juice if I wouldn't do it myself if I had the time. Yeah. So like, you shouldn't ask them to do something you can do. And they'll respect that 100% and see your graft. And then obviously painting the vision, the culture of the company, something that fall in there, just building that vision that people buy into as well. And they're all like key asset points to like leadership.
Yeah, I see that happen a lot. I see a lot of guys that they hop on offers and they're like, it seems like that I feel you can tell right away, like the CEO either hired you because he's bad at sales or he hired you because he knows how to sell it like the back of his hand. He actually needs the extra people, and he could show you like, hey, if I hopped on to appointment set for a week, I could double your numbers.
That's what we're into was. It sort of was at the very beginning and probably towards the end as well. But like they brought you in not because of your sales expertise, they brought you in because of your hunger and like your intent, and you can learn fast, and that to someone else is so much more valuable, because if you bring in people that are just hungry for money, then if the money's bad in a bad month, they're going to dish you. So he brought people that were hungry, loyal, bought into the vision, and can learn fast, and that's how you build a good company with longevity, because you don't want people leaving every month and come back. So yeah, that was a key asset to building the team as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And now career agency into Educate, they've been able to sustain this kind of success for a pretty good amount of time. Being on the inside, I mean, what would you say is the biggest catalyst to why that company, is able to do what they do, was able to do what they did for so long?
Brandon, they never had a bad rep per se. He mastered fully up online, and I matched up with his personality, but it's your outward perception to reality where to see that makes your company go. Like some of the biggest companies in the world might not have the best internal systems, but like they're so good at memory that just print sales. And you don't always have to be the best, but like if you're sorry, blanking out. You don't always have to be the best at what you do, but if you can get people get into what you do, you'll learn how to fix the things that we work best for an anime. I don't heard it all over, and it's like,
no, you're totally fine, but I think that's a good point. I mean, just talking about kind of, you mentioned their company culture, obviously the leaders that they put in place, those are some intangible things, for sure. But what do you think made you a good leader for that team?
I think leadership is probably gifted to some people, and then not up to someone with like I have led to get over here and talk about my now last podcast a little bit. Like, there was that willingness to like go the extra mile for the company and the people seeing you're doing the extra work, sitting up in the 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, the secret sets coming in when everyone else is asleep, or, you know, on my first week of closing, I'd probably took like 20, 25 calls a day. I was like closing for like 16 hours a day, which is not fun. It's like stressful. Probably don't do it. But yeah, it's just that you need, as a leader, you just make sacrifices. And they talk about it in church, actually. I sacrifice, we all win. Real leaders are like, I know sacrifice myself in this moment so my team can win. And that's like what a true leader stands for. That phrase on just stuck with me Haggard when our sermon said it.
Yeah, no, 100%. That makes total sense. And it's just like, it's kind of eliminating that ladder, because I think sometimes people, like, they put themselves there in a leadership role, they put themselves on this pedestal, and your reps can feel that. Your coworkers can feel that. So I think it, like we hit on earlier, that humbling experience you've had week 1, you've just been able to use that kind of all the way through your career of like, okay, now you knew how to identify that kid with the big ego when he came in. You probably had a way better understanding on how would I approach him as if he was me. And so I think that's huge. Like what would you say your biggest weakness is in there? It has I guess in that leadership role, but even across the board, things you're working on.
Things that I'm working on, that's such an interesting question. What is something that I'm working from right now makes a weakness? That's such a good question. People don't get asked about that sort of stuff very often, but my biggest weakness, because everyone says the biggest weakness is something and it ends up being positive, so I'm ready to give an actual general weakness.
And that's what we do, right? We're addicted problem solvers. So we identify problems in our head. You know, not everyone thinks like this, but we also have an idea of what the solution is. And so it's hard for us to frame it as a weakness. I mean, one thing off the bat for me, just to kind of give you some direction, is I'm naturally very patient. And it comes from, right? And I could see what you said, because a lot of people hear me say that, and then they also hear me follow it with, but it's also why I get shit done.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it comes from that, but it also, I don't zoom out enough, and I don't factor in how some of the things I do make the people around me feel, because on the inside, it gets the job done, and, you know, I ask for forgiveness later. So I just said, you know, sustainable or
I'd probably match on that. Impatience or emotional decision is something I'm trying to get rid of or do less of. But like a lot of decisions I make, I'm a very emotional setter too. But like the most decisions I make are always very emotional. Like I feel a certain way and might go tempted to do something, so I just do it. And whether that's impatience or whether it's just emotional decision making, I want to become more logical and think and ground myself more and just like take a day to like sleep on it before I make a decision. Like, for example, I don't love the vibes into them, so I got home after I slept here with Ita that week on the couch. And I was like, I just don't love the vibes of me. I was like, I kind of feel, I don't know, I'm alone, so like I don't feel safe. I'm on a golf plan. Maybe it is safe, but my heart was just telling me it's not. And yeah, it's just like I made an impulse decision that I just go on it. I just bought Nashville for Friday. And my Airbnb goes from like 2100 for 10 days now. And so like maybe if I'd saved more, maybe I would have still got the month, got my money's worth, and then left. But yeah, I just make emotional decisions on that, which is positive and negative. So
yeah, no, that makes sense. It's totally normal. I mean, I'm 20 years old. Like I tell people, we've got 2 years being an adult, right? But people try to act like we've got 10 years, right? Or like, especially our parents, right? Like, oh, you know, we mentored you for 18 years. What do you mean you don't have it figured out at 22, right? And I know a lot of people watching this, they feel that pressure, whether it's real, whether it's not. You know, a lot of those pressures I think we make up in our head, but one thing is just always being honest about where you're at. And that's what I would say my biggest change from 21 to 23 now, I'm just way more upfront about where I'm at. And everyone tends to resonate with that way more than me talking in terms of where I know I can be.
Yeah.
And that's such a common theme in this space. Like
I think that's actually becoming more common for people to actually do it nowadays. Like people are kind of sick of that whole like earn 10K in the first month. They kind of want to buy off free people nowadays. And people who make content like Ireland, who is like legit about where he's at right now, or he like takes a live video with no edits and no cuts. That's coming back with the fashion. You see Sanders stage, sitting down, turning on his camera, recording the video for an hour, getting like 500,000 views on a channel that has like 70k subscribers. That raw, people want to hear the raw truth of what you're saying with cuts and so on. So I think that's going to be big soon, and it probably is already.
Yeah, authenticity is positive. I'm glad you hit on that, because I've seen, that's a huge shift I've seen in social media, where it's like the authentic stuff is winning, right? Like I'm getting more views popping up my phone on my walk, talking about what's coming to my brain than I am when I sat down and scripted 30 videos a day and just scheduled them for release. Because we change, and like people want to be updated with the current moment, especially with the world around us, how fast everything's changing. So yeah, that's super cool, man.
That's a good, on my newsletter actually, I talked about like, on my newsletter, I'm like, I just type exactly what I'm thinking at that very moment on my head. I'm like, just type, just type. And like, I get a lot of really, really positive feedback from it, which are like, I need that to this, how exactly how I felt. And a lot of entrepreneurs try to sugarcoat things and make it look like there's someone they're not, or they're in a position that they're not. And that authenticity, as you said, just coming back, people go, they dig it, pick it up.
Yeah, and speaking of authenticity, there's a lot of people, the God thing, right? I will go down this rabbit hole real quick, just because it's so important in relation to authenticity. I'd say my biggest thing that I held back, that I implemented in my content this year, that I've seen more people kind of do, is, they always ask me, where does this self-belief come from, right? And in our world as believers, right, whether you're restricted to a certain religion or you're in those constraints, but at the end of the day, it's more of a common belief system, I would say. Yeah. Talk me through your process of finding God. What were you doing? How did you start implementing Him more into your life, I guess? And, we'll take it from there, because it is a very real,
it's a real topic, bro.
Yeah.
It's just surrendering to Him. And people always ask, like, how do I get into it? It's like, start acting like Him. And it's not like you don't have to start reading the Bible straight away and get like obsessed with that, because it's confusing at the very beginning. But the more you start acting like Jesus would, and you would get rewarded naturally with this world. You see everything He did was perfect. And you might have that guilty conscience for a while, but like the closer you get to God, the more sin you actually start feeling. Like I try not to curse as much as possible, because I cringe at myself nowadays when I curse, but it just flows out with a bad habit. Or I stopped drinking. I used to drink and feel really, really guilty in the very moment I was drinking. And just because the closer you get to Him, but yeah, everyone has that fundamental of like what their God is, and then you have to get closer, because it does come with you, completely destroys your ego, helps you walk with honor, helps you treat women correctly, helps you treat your parents correctly. People always talk about like psychology. If you actually just read the Bible, it actually just taught for psychology so much of how people work and understand people, and to do like TED talks about like just the bar and all these guys that are like the most people have no time. And like I think, and they say like that because that's the way men are naturally, that's the way the men naturally are. The men should go on to the women. You might disagree with me, but I think a real man shows as a real man because he has choice among the women, but chooses to say no to one, because that's a worldly desire, I think, personally. Yeah. So like the discipline to stay loyal to one girl and not be matched on other girls is 10x harder than having multiple girls. So most of the right thing to do to an extent. That might sound wrong, most of the right thing to do, but I just think this whole right thing of multiple women just like, yes.
Yeah, I never really bought into that either.
I did, but
like I from a scientific standpoint, sure. Like men were driven to create. I would even to like refute it a little bit, I also notice I'm way more, when I'm like actively seeking women, the chase is distracting. Okay, it pulls me off my goals, right? Yeah. But when I say I'm seriously talking to somebody or we're dating or XYZ, and I don't have to worry about that anymore. I just want to work on myself so much, and I just want to focus on them. And we come back to being honest. I started being more honest with girls about that when we were developing in certain stages. And I was just like, yo, like if you're getting an hour of my time a day, like on fucking FaceTime, like I'm not talking to like 10 other people. Yeah. And it resonates, dude. Most of them are not used to hearing that, and you'll get the universal feedback. Yeah. So that's like a super underrated part where it's like the universe, the source, whatever. You'll start to get people don't compliment you for no reason. Like, when you get a shallow compliment, and when you get a compliment based off just natural interactions. Even the thing you said earlier, right, about me just being dialed in, you know, a year ago. I didn't think that about myself a year ago.
Yeah.
I just was kind of following my instincts a little bit and being like, I do not want to miss this opportunity. I need to make sure every stone is unturned before I just ghost this. Because yeah, there was weeks where we went by and, you know, there's no messaging back and forth, but in the back of my head, I'm just like, nah. Like, until I get the door shut in my face or somebody says, hey, this isn't going to work for XYZ reason.
I'm trying.
So I'm just going to keep going after it. I've seen that in your process too.
I love that we're on the whole thing of like relationship. I think it's a thought about enough. I think it was very, very important. And you talk about shapes and attracting. I used to have that mindset. I would even say 7 or 8 months ago, like really recent, where I'm in Paul's house in the US. And I had that mindset of, you know, can have multiple women, and it doesn't really matter that much, or men can kind of fuck around, but the women should not fuck around. And like I was so indoctrinated by everything at the time, and I just believed it fully, and I was like, I come out with now because a friend of mine, the same time at the time, sat me down and he was like, James, the type of woman do you want? And I was like, I'll say a Christian woman, their values, their morals, you know, like ideally like a low body count or none. And he was like, okay, are you the type of person to attract that? Or would God give you his greatest gifts that you're describing right now? Would he hand you out right now in your current position of how you treat women, or not bad at it, but like just how you can go about yourself? And I was like, did that change everything? I was like, how can I expect God to give me his greatest gift in my eyes when I'm like not being the man that deserves that woman? And that changed my life. Just like watched that, you know what, it changed my life. And like literally like a week after that, this is very personal, and I've never talked about it before, but I just decided to go celibate. I was like, I do not want to just have sex with like just random chick no more. I don't want to be with girls as meaningless. I just really want to attract this type of woman. You need to be the butterfly in the garden, the chasing butterfly in the garden. You're not going to catch it, but you just build that nest of the flowers and beautifully, elegantly smelling. The butterfly will come, and that's what I focused on. I was like, you just self about myself and to switch these mindset beliefs, get closer to God, become celibate. Then, you know, the Christian girl in my
right. Well, she'll find her. You attract it, right? And I think piggybacking off her, that's a great kind of segue into this, because one of the biggest takeaways I pulled from Arlen, and I always refer to people as like him as like my dating mentor in a way, but he nailed it when he's right, dude, because he nailed it one time. He said, look, dude, a lot of guys are watching this 18 to 25, like you're looking at these girls and they always want an older guy, and you don't understand why they want the older guy. The reason they want the older guy is because of what you just hit on, because they have more to give and they have the experience built out. So if you're an 18-year-old guy trying to go after 18-year-old girls, they want the 21, the 22, the 23-year-old because they have
not because of their age, but because of the man
of the man they are, but because they've had the 5 years experience, probably build something, and it doesn't necessarily. It typically aligns with money. So I don't even get so upset when girls are like, "Oh, I want a guy, you know, that has money." I don't take that the wrong way, because I do think there's an element to, bro, if you haven't made your own wealth, or you haven't made yourself in a way where you provide enough value to the world, how do you expect somebody to want, you don't have anything to give to anyone else. So you are going into those situations selfishly, you know, just trying to like get the hookup, just trying to have the girlfriend that everyone talks about, right? And girls can see right through that shit. They say they mature, you know, a lot faster than guys do. And so if you're watching this, it's like, if girls aren't active in your life, look at where you're at and seriously be like, you know, whether that's a monetary goal you have in your head, but really focus on the value side. Like, what do you have to bring to the table? Because if it's nothing, then don't expect to, you know, just get lucky.
Like, it's not even your age, it's like the experience you have with life. And like, I'm trying to, like, you have girls in the past, whatever, that are like 25, 26, that think I'm like 33 or something. And like, when I'm talking about business or lives and or to do, etc. And that's not because of my age, it's because of the things I put myself through to become like the man I am today and so on. So you need to put yourself through some experience, because you need to be you don't want to bring your woman to them experiences either. Like, you want to be that established man that can lead her as well. And I don't say too much right now, but
Yeah, no, I think it's great, dude. I think we nailed it as far as, identify what you want to, being very specific about what you want. That's probably where I struggle right now, because I'm also I'm starting to hit that.
Okay, let's say right now, what do you want? Can say, what do you want?
No, I mean, it's a good question. It's something I've been thinking about, and I would say that as far as drawing it out and super like being locked in on like these exact things, I'd say there's an element to me that is still experimenting.
Okay.
But there are things I pull from previous relationships or previous girls I've had in my life that now I do kind of look for again. And I guess the key things are, you mentioned values, right? Like, are they close with their family? That's big for me, because I know if you have a family you're worried about, the family's always going to come first, and I almost respect that in a way, because I know they're in this for more than I know. I don't just have to impress them.
They will just ditch your family someday.
Yeah, right. I have to, it's gonna matter. Who I am is gonna matter to not only her, it's gonna matter to the people that care about her. And that's going to determine on if this is long term.
Yeah.
So I like that aspect of it. It can help you. It can also, if you're not a good dude, people can see right through it, right? Yeah. I want a girl who's interested more
than you, or
interested in what I'm
in the space.
Doing.
Yeah.
I want people that. Here's a good way to put it. Does the girl ask good questions, or is it always focused on what do you do? Where are you? What major are you? Like, I hate the service level shit. I'm just like, if you're only focused on like what I like, what job I have, or like, what my past is really about, it's like those things aren't so much important. It's more, are you taking an interest in what I'm doing, and are you actually genuinely curious about who I am, or are you more curious about what I can give you?
Yeah.
And I know it kind of like refutes a little bit about what we talked about. But in the sense of, you can you can just tell when somebody's asking you the right questions.
Yeah. And they care, genuinely, truly.
They actually they genuinely care, right? So, and then they have to be healthy. Like I always say, I don't want to say like, I will never deal with like big girls weight, but in a way, dude, I do it.
That's not phobic.
I'm out here I'm like, not like fat phobic, but in a way it's like,
that's nice though.
There's an element to being, I call it healthy. You don't need, I'm not like
healthy means in shape. We can be fat phobic. I don't mind that.
Right, like you need to be, if you're in shape, I'm somebody, exactly. I think that's
what discipline. If you can show up and eat the right food and do the right exercise,
you care about your body,
you're probably going to be disciplined to your relationship.
I want somebody who cares about the way they look when they're around me. I do the same thing with my friends, right? If you look at any of my friends from like mostly my experience in South Florida, right? Like everyone always said like you were always out with like the baddest girls, and they always thought I was like dating them, or we had this weird like cesspool and we were all hooking up with each other, and like, any of them listening to this, it's like none of that is true. But when I surrounded myself with high value people, all these people, like I met them through school, they were focused, they were in grad school, they were doing XYZ, they came from good backgrounds, and they were naturally good looking people. Yeah. And it's the same with my friends. There's not a dude here that cannot pull any girl we walk in the street if we have a solid conversation with that. We're not necessarily gonna get rejected, right? And I like that. It attracts more high level people to you. I mean, it made it easier for me to go out. I always tell guys like, yeah, your boys are important, but if you don't have a solid group of girlfriends, like don't expect to go out and pull, and take the time to like build those relationships and make it amicable. Don't go into like make it platonic. And what?
The best woman is a woman.
The best wingman is a woman, 100%. And I always say,
other women.
Look, I had an unfair advantage. Okay, I've got an older sister. She's only 2 years older than me, and like, right, like top of the line, right? Like, good morals, like good looking, great. Just always help me through those things. Okay. But I also like being able to have obviously your siblings.
Yeah.
You learn how to be like, it's naturally platonic, but also around your friends. It's like they could trust me more, right? When I went out with those other girls, the other girls I would go up to, they felt more comfortable because they were like, oh, this guy walked in with 6 girls who trust him and 3 of his boys, right? So
you're talking like such a frat guy, right?
I do talk like I know, but it's there's a validity. I know, dude. I say that a lot. That's the Florida slang. But yeah, dude. it raises your it just raises your appeal because the more girls will trust you, and you have to take the time to build relationships with girls and not just want to hook up with them because it's not I don't know. It's
I'll just say something, man.
yeah.
I might buy me gas, but like I'm kind of dedicated to like one girl right now, and relationship like it's just so great. If there's never at the very beginning, there's like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 things, and they get sorted fast. But like, there's never any issue. The reason that there isn't because there's like gods in the center. But like, we had this conversation recently where like she was asking the questions she shouldn't have been asking, and so on. And maybe it was a lack of trust, or it was I identified it very quickly and told her. I was like, it's because she's the oldest in the family, and she's Eastern European, like. She's naturally a leader. Like she does the things to her friends. She books the restaurant. She organizes things to her family. So she's naturally a leader, which is like not a feminine trait. And I was wondering why we had these like arguments like 2 or 3 nights in a row. And I was like, let me ask you a question. Like, have you been a leader? I don't know. Like, she's like, yeah, I have been. I was like, I just need you to surrender. Like, you just need to trust in me. And she was like, I'm not really used to surrender. She always just have to do everything herself. So. Relationship advice is like one, have God as a middle of everything because like once you are both building towards something else, you're not always bashing head, you're doing everything for him. And then as a man, if you react to situations like Christ would, then your relationships will be very, very healthy. Because I never get mad at her for anything. It's like I trust and we try to talk things through. I never instantly react and try to be stoic about it. And yeah, that conversation that stuck with me was like she was very naturally the leader in her life, and I was like, okay, it's time that you just need to surrender with your used to leading. I'm going to be leading this family in this relationship, so you just need to surrender like by now, and our relationship will be very happy. And since that day, she's like, it's perfection.
Just the communication when they talked about how many other girls were you willing to voice that to that were actually listen
and receive it. That's
it.
big. I actually didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and like received it. And honestly, hearing more about this now, it's like. You guys will line up because reality is, as much as she may not want to admit it, she probably is a little taxed of being the leader, the connector all the time.
Just relax, like you're with
right. Maybe guys in the past have been complacent and like they're easy to control. So like I know girls that body in this, but those relationships never work out when they're just in control really the whole time. In my opinion, I also think from a guy's standpoint, you need to relax. All right, like if you can't trust goes both ways. So, like, you can't have this life where you want to go out and board once a month, once a week, whatever, and do things on your own, travel by yourself, but then not give the girl that same respect and that same trust because you have to be willing. If you are so paranoid about what they're going to do when you're not around, they might not be the one for you, or you haven't had those conversations that kind of build that trust. And even just it personally, I just have a decent, like, run that I just let my old ego kind of get the best of me.
Really have been.
Yeah, and it was like, and it went from 3-4 weeks of like really solid uphill to like one day of me kind of being over paranoid and just for some reason tapping into my old self. And immediately that she felt the pressure and she felt the restrictedness that she couldn't necessarily be herself. And like, what do you know? Like off the table.
Pretty.
Right? Yeah. And no, I know, but it's fine. I learned the fact that thinking I had it figured out and having to learn that now again at 23, just being like, oh shit, you were on that trajectory, but you let your ego get
what it is. Entrepreneurs, bro. Like entrepreneurs have this really bad thing of like, you're with your woman, right? And a lot of men are in a position right now, but like, the work and so on, must be like, just show up, you're like, you deserve to be with me, like, you're lucky to be with me, sort of. And it's like, I don't look at, like, money as, like, why you deserve to be with me. I look at, like, because I'm going to treat you the way, like, you need to treat us today, and I'm going to make our family. Like, you can't have that approach to a woman of, like, because I make extra that money, just, like, you do what you're told.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Horrifically controlled.
Yeah. And like, a lot of entrepreneurs do it, bro, like, especially young ones are, like, Tony, I'm going to do the nice cars, and the girl asked them a question because you made the kid this girl and somewhere, and you're like, just shut up because like you rely on me, or like I'm doing this for us. Just like just shut up, like, and hold yourself.
Yeah, and we're at this stage where you guys, like, everyone's got to understand, like, again, like we hit on, we're just still so young, right? And we need to develop as humans, you want that person to grow themselves. And eventually, if you guys both grow and you grow apart, that's natural, you know? But if you're just not letting them change who they are and you're constantly, you get so attached to who they were the day you met them or the week or the first year you guys were together.
That's such a good point, bro. I didn't think about it that because
you have to let them.
Yeah. And the God thing in the middle is because I think like naturally, if you don't have God there, you're going to try find yourself in some other way. But if she's coming towards God and you're coming towards God, you need to be the man. You need to become that. You need to become. She becomes a woman. She needs to become. She's a woman who like submits to a man who like not submission as in like the bad man, but submission as in like you trust him enough to lead the family, and you become that leader. And it's just like that makes so much sense because without God in the middle, like you're both going in these natural directions and finding yourself with these little routes that like someone might like and he might like whatever. But if you find God, she finds God, and that's in the middle. It's gonna just be.
And would you say it eliminates outside influence? I'd say that my biggest turn off with girls is girls that just take everything their friends say as word, and it kind of dictates their decisions. Not to say they don't have good friends in their life, but when I feel like they're being influenced and it doesn't seem it's coming straight from them, it's coming from what everyone thinks about what they say.
I was thinking about this conversation already. I was like,
yeah,
basically, I don't want you, hate us, or I don't want you always just talk with your friends the negative things in our relationship. If you're going to talk at all, you have to talk the positive and the negative, because most women tend to gossip a lot, especially cannot like those who God or whatever tend to gossip a lot and say the bad things to their friends, and their friends have this perception of you where 99% of the time you're good, but that 1% of the time you fucked up, and now their friends think you're that 1%. So like, she knows she does not gossip. She doesn't like gossip about others to me, or she doesn't gossip outside of our relationship. Not a relationship yet, but like more might turn into one. And yeah, it's just I've not gossiping, like definitely a big one, because like you only have girlfriends in the rear that don't support her relationship. Yet again, I would probably wouldn't have been attracted to her because she probably wouldn't have been a woman who would have been the one who wouldn't out that, and she probably wouldn't have had the values that I'd line for anyway. So yeah,
that's now I want to just kind of wrap up the religion side of this. Have you read Outwitting the Devil?
No, it's in my house.
Okay, and you read this. I'm telling you, like I read that at the beginning of the year this year. I got it for Christmas, and it was like Outwitting the Devil just really helps build sustainability in everything we're talking about, because it does a great job of making you aware of when the devil's intruding himself into your life. And it's along those lines of like, I'm not going to spoil the whole thing. Okay. It's more like, it's along those lines of you become so conscious when you're following what God wants you to do, even if it's uncomfortable or it doesn't make sense. And when you're listening to the devil, right? The devil feeds off supper. Yeah. Okay. He wants you to feel like you mentioned drinking. The book was written in the 1930s, right? And it outlines just things to a perfect T about, anytime excessive alcohol comes into your life, that's the devil just playing your game. Because when you're not, there's actually a Bible verse I posted today, and it talked about, the devil can't control a sober mind.
And you know all that. And this, I hope this helps you understand the same, because having understand sin a lot in the sermon. Sin isn't one action. Sin isn't I stepped to that girl because I messed up. Sin is I chose the decision to go out with just my boys. I chose the decision to have that one drink, and then have 2 drinks, have 4 drinks, and 5 drinks, 6 drinks, whatever. I had the decision to have drugs. I had the decision to go up to this girl and talk to her. I had a girlfriend or whatever it is. I had the decision to order taxi. I had the decision to open the door, had to let her in, out, and that decision, whatever happens in the bedroom, that decision to control every single one of them. So sin isn't one action. Sin can be cut at the root, and like that's why I don't drink, and that's why I'm celibate. Because they're the same. It's easier to avoid temptation than to resist it. So if you get yourself in a position, it's going to be extremely hard to not do whatever that sin is. But if you don't get yourself in the position, there's nothing to resist. You're not there. That's something we see if you avoid sin than to resist it. And that like celibacy is generally the best thing you can do in your life, because if you get to that stage where you can control probably the most uncontrollable thing as a man, you can eat whatever you want. You have like a superpower. If you can walk into a room and there's a woman there and she come on to you, you can say no and walk away. you are stronger than like 9.9 centimeters. And like, that's what I learned, like, what's out to see, like, there'll be a girl there telling me, brother talk to me, they me drinking whatever, they come on to them, but I'm not interested. And like, 99% of men would just say, yeah, and just go with it. But celibacy teaches you that discipline of just like saying no to the biggest temptation in mankind. Like, if you left your, okay, let's say you're not like religious, you're not celibate, you're artistic. If you left your girlfriend because you probably trapped a certain type of girl with another man in a room for like a week, and neither of them have the values that you know you should have, someone probably been happy. But it's such a desire, such a strong desire. So I really recommend, if you're trying to get close to God, or if you're trying to improve your lifestyle and get in this thing, and you are as a man, keep it up by now.
Dude, it's your most powerful, I'm glad you brought this up, because your most powerful force is your ability to create. So every time you're just blowing that, we operate on an energetic field, right? People can feel it. They call it your chi when you're talking like in a guy's sense. It's no coincidence you attracted that girl you are. The last girl I attracted in my life came off 2 months being celibate. And it was because my chi and everything was so hot. Your life force is so hot. It's not being spent in other places. Yes, are you attracted to people all the time? Of course, we're men. That's what happens when you don't release, right? Like, that's just normal, right? But it's because you're attracting more life force into your life. You have more of that to give. People can feel that. If you're not there on a monetary standpoint, or you're not there on a value standpoint, but you're on a personal values standpoint, that's a great place to start. So all these guys, they talk about they have like these porn addictions. It's like, dude, you want to get rid of your porn addiction? Look up what happens to your brain watching porn, and look up what happens to your brain when you shoot heroin. And the dent in your brain is more detrimental, and it looks more grayer, and there's more holes in your brain from having a porn addiction than there is to shooting up heroin.
Shoot heroin.
So, I'm not saying to shoot heroin. I'm just saying, definitely, yeah. Look at that diagram. I told you about the same thing when I was looking at the diagrams of what happens when you're on ecstasy or mushrooms or smoking weed, and like how your dopamine receptors react, right? With ecstasy, the dopamine goes from bouncing on a normal rate to sticking. And it is like having your foot on the gas the entire time. And so you wake up the next day and you feel like shit. And it's the same thing when you are not, like when you're celibate, right? It's the same thing. It's like when you're just blowing it all the time, your brain's just getting destroyed left and right, and nobody wants to interact with that. You're not going to have any control over your emotions. You're going to make irrational decisions. Sure, you're going to feel relaxed and get a little bit better sleep, which is also bullshit, by the way. If you look at the science, there's no proof to that. But yeah, just, I'm telling you, don't take what we say over it. Look at the diagrams, do it, see heroin. See what your brain really looks like. And I'm telling you, it'll change your life.
It actually adds a paradox, because the less you want something, the less, in general with women, the less like I said yes, or like the fact that I started saying no to all of them, the more they wanted me then, because I was like, no. I'm like, when did they hear no? Never. They choose all the time. So yeah, it actually ended up attracting more people for more women.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I don't know how we're gonna segue this into. Well, let's talk about you as a kid, right? I want to get here, and we'll talk about the mental health side. I think we've gotten some solid sales experience. We might just do like a fast 5 as far as getting your sales expertise at the end. But yeah, talk to me about your childhood a little bit. Maybe this is a question I always have at the beginning. An important detail from your past that kind of gives us some context into who you are today.
Well, popped my mind straight away of being like 12 or 13 and going into the office to open the letter. I mentioned my mother and my father, and it was the mortgage at the time, and like how back in the day it was, or whatever. And at 12 or 13, I was like, that long, I was like, I need to do something. They don't deserve this. Like, they're such good parents. And there's weeks where they have good weeks, weeks where they have bad weeks, financially, or even spiritually, or emotionally. But I just think that fact, I still remember it in my head. I can remember the number in my head. Like, Gary, 7 figures, I can just remember in my head, just looking at it. And the 6 figures was 0.00, not that huge. Yeah, that was a moment for me that like my head flipped. And like, I remember being like 14, 15, like selling like lollipops, or if you're selling like different stuff in school, and being like 15, and like every single Friday, like buying 2 bags of lollipops. Like you go a week, bring them into school, you have €4 at the end of the day. You go get your haircut and you be back the next week and you do the same with Capri Suns and the chocolate bars. This time it'll be more of an allegation.
Nah, you're the kid selling people lip and shit in school.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's like, that's where it comes from, like phenomenal parents with like, like a decent struggle financial. And they also make things work. They never want me to just retire. Or they won't want that. They always put them, they want to learn off me. It was just so, it's huge for me. And last and one thing, my mother collected like $18,000 that month as a clother. She's a clothing, my mother's in the sales space. Yeah. She's in a company called like, that's what I saw your bid. One's fitness software. And she's crushed at it, but I knew she crushed at the sales. She went into my dad's doing well now with his business started, because I 20 different ways to cold call or do outreach and so on, or utilize a CRM.
Wow.
But yeah, the turning point for me was when I was really, really young, and no one, I was like 34 and I knew not my last money, I knew my last way. I knew, like, I was very, very emotionally aware because I had to be, because they couldn't actually give me money to say just for the disco or whatever it was. So yeah, you had to be very aware. My sister's the same. Brother's younger, so I mean he is too, but we had to them aware of like what we're going to ask for.
So you're older sister?
17.
So you're the oldest?
Pretty oldest, and my brother's 40.
Okay, gotcha. So you guys are all pretty close.
Yeah, I'm 18 this year. I'm 21 this year. So we're gonna.
Okay,
so something up.
Sweet, dude. Yeah, no, badass, bro. Because if anyone's always, your family's got your back to the end, and I think it's so cool to hear like your parents just their willingness to kind of open their mind to what you're doing. I mean, like you've got a lot of people. It's like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. Not if your parents were doctors. Not if your parents were lawyers. Not if they're in engineering or real estate. Oh, real estate's a little different, but. Like, there's certain industries where they make their wealth and they spent 40 years getting there, and there is an element to like, you've got 40 years experience, but you have 40 years experience in that world, right? And your parents' willingness to accept that you were a little different and that you were actually making these things, like just taking it in and learning from you, is super helpful, but it's probably in the way you communicated and your intentions with it. It was never because they weren't doing enough for you, is because you finally had something where you could like actually build it for them.
And it wasn't just like I want to make millions. I'm like just trusting them to make millions. It was like they seen the studying I was doing on a day-to-day basis. It's like he's doing everything he can do to achieve X. So that's what I just trust him. I mean, if you're in college and you want to drop out, and your parents are like, no, I don't want to drop out, it's fair because you haven't showed them why you should drop out. Right. So like I think that's extremely based. And another thing that was a turning point for me, and I talked about it during Bible study last week, and it was about my manhood. And my dad called me last summer, and I picked up, and he was crying on the other line. You as a man, that how difficult it is to hear your own dad cry. So he's the guy that like you look up to, like he's your rock. And yeah, you think it's possible for you in spot, and you see him like break down and like this is like this hurts my soul. And he said, Jim, that I've failed you guys, and this is that time where they were trying to get one year right, and before mom was told and that's so on. I was like, I said, I failed you, go there. I was like, damn it. You're focused on the financial part. You said you think you failed us because you don't have money to do whatever you want to do right now. That's not your job as a father. Your job as a father is to raise fantastic kids, and my sister's one of the best, most genuine you ever meet. My brother's extremely talented, everything he's doing, very humble, great guy. And like, I was a dad that you were like, you failed in zero metrics. Like, you were the best dad I could have possibly asked for. And if you're a dad watching this such a probably ain't, or if you're a son, don't look at your dad as a failure. Don't look at yourself as a failure, because it's financially, your job as a dad necessarily isn't just finances. It's just like raising a great family. He loves my mother. He's also care with respect and kindness, and same like my brother and sister. So he's just raising a great family, and that's
years. And that's super personal. I'm glad you shared it. And it's like, again, like if you're even questioning that, but you're sitting here watching this, trying to get better, trying to learn, like your parents did do a good job, right? Not because you're just watching the Weekly Prophet, but because
that's a great job.
Yeah, that's hands down best parenting ever. If you ask me. But at the same time, it's like they instilled it in you that they're trusting you enough to figure it out, that you are sitting here wanting to figure it out. And so I think that's huge. What do you think is the biggest thing they learned from you? I mean, you talked about your mom just enters this journey as a closer, right? After having all these years experience doing other things. But what do you think you'd say they pulled the most from you, from your observation, or maybe something they've told you?
Is maybe that there's always something that you don't know. Like, old people not old people, but like older people tend to be stuck in their ways all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, they think they know it all. I would have something I showed them was because through my work, or through the finance that you see you don't even think are possible. And then she was like, yeah, how is that possible when I've been doing this for like 40 years? I was like, she was always open, but like the extra layer of like, I don't know something I need to know. And that willingness to want to learn, and whether it's like a different fucking setting to CRM, or whether it's a different way of cold calling, extracting that emotional buy-in from a prospect, or closing calls, or whatever it is, that ability to like be humble enough to know you don't know everything. Something that I feel like hopefully they've seen from me, and I directly touch. I think they have.
Yeah, 100%, man. Do you think sales is the best industry for any beginner that wants to get into remote work, or would you say it's something else?
Yeah, definitely. Because you need it in every other sort of remote work. Whether you want e-com, which isn't direct sales yourself, sales is marketing to an extent. Like, so the difference between sales and marketing is marketing is saying, okay, you have a crowd there saying who wants to go to a restaurant, and everyone puts up their hand. That's like marketing. But sales is convincing them that your restaurant is the best one to go to in that area. And sales, if you master that skill of convincing someone that your product is the best, whatever it is, then like you can go into any app and master that and just crush it. Like people who got urban sales tend to go on to like own their own agency or their own IPO or whatever it is. But like sales, once you master that ability to have that connection, convince people to do things that they know you have to do, 100% the best skill you need to learn. You have.
And how should somebody take the first steps to learning that? Do you get a mentor? Do you throw yourself in the fire as a setter? Where would you go?
I think courses are bullshit. I think you need a mentor, and you need someone who's been there before. I don't even have a direct mentorship at all, but like I'm saying, you need to find one. And you know that there's the Affinity Sales Training. They have like a mentorship for like $99 a month, something that is accessible at $99. You need to just be able to figure out if this is for you or not. So I just join something like Affinity Sales Training, for example, and yeah, just through there they'll give you mentorship, the guidance, like the facilities you need to understand that, and then after you understand it, just
also plug yourself here, because A Players Club you just launched, right? You guys are doing it like today, right? I keep saying it all week, but it's just so much going on. Now, what are you guys going through in there? Is there a sales?
No, so like I am part of some sort of sales stuff in the back end and B side of things. So I'm not gonna stab it in the back and go create my own sales training. I'm not gonna do that. So it's more of just, I think you need a brotherhood. I think you need every single step of the way up. I always had like, it was Jacob and Oz at the very beginning. We did the mod together for 5 months. We just crushed every single day late, like 3 a.m. I have a picture of like Jake sat beside like a fringe full of Red Bulls for an event. And like with Jake's a brother of mine. We're from the same town and pretty like 3 kilometers apart. I started with MJ. Max was like, is there more like where you're from? I was like, yeah, 100%. This guy, if I talked to him, I was loaded at a bar once. We had the same sort of alignment. I know he's open to the space. Jake's crushing. Jake's talking about Paul now. You need to have if you're doing this journey, you know it's very difficult. So A players, I understand that you need brothers and you need avenues and you need connections and network and so on. So similar to Tribe and instead, but modern version of like brotherhood. So like they join, have like an A players accountable section of like, if you need to be the best physical version of yourself every day, because in sales, for example, if you're fat or you're out of shape or you're on shape, you could be, how can someone expect you to take care of their business when you can't even take care of yourself? Like, it just makes no sense. So conscious that plays a factor. Accountability, you have a crypto section, which like I don't really want to talk about too much. I don't love the idea of someone just jumping into crypto with no idea, but we have that section where people are getting like 6, 7, 8 exits like on the day-to-day basis right now with the bull run. And we have end of the day reports and media again, just raw in the day of what I learned from that day, etc. Just that network of people can just connect at agency owners, sales guys, etc. I love it bigger, so you should join. If you're watching this and you're looking for that brotherhood, like genuinely just join it. Don't be a bitch, man.
Yeah, dude. If you're looking for like-minded people, like we talked about, I mean, A players, Tribe, I don't even want to call it rational optimists, right? And it's just like the reason you join is because we think, I hate when people are like, oh, I don't have any like-minded people around me. Right, you might not in your hometown, but if you take the internet game seriously, and I always talk about just be intentional with your social media, show who you are, even if you're the outcast in your small little town, because there's 1 billion users on Instagram, and I guarantee you'll find 10 or 20 of them that want to travel the world with you, that want to build businesses, that want to help you with your sales. They want to hear you talk about your problem so that they can connect you. That we're both good connectors.
The guy's house that we're in right now, I met because I joined the mentorship. Like I'm a massive fan for like Monday. Like
literally,
that's the connection you need. You seek to invest in yourself because, you know, if you're not strong with that like-minded ability, it's just like, it's very easy to give.
And I met this guy in a free sales group chat. Like, I can't even. Jacob Hopkins, shout out to him. You can still join his Discord. It's not like there's literally 3,000 people in it, and they're all people that want to get into remote work and get into sales, and it's fucking free. And then you just, what I do, I try once a month to just update that group chat about what I'm doing, because I know 3,000 people are in it, and I know there might be 5 or 6, I get 5 to 10 DMs afterwards. Hey, can I help you with your business at all? Then I have to go through the process. Do I want them to be a part of this XYZ? But the common intention is there that they want to get better. And you can stack these, bro. You can join the free Discords, and then you learn about the paid one. And then, I would even say, I think that may have been, you're not in Jacob's Discord, are you?
I joined it when I never was active.
You joined it, but you were never active, but I think I saw your name pop up. Something, right? Like, I remember certain names. The kid literally that we're at literally came up to me and it was like, oh, you're Prophet Jack. We connected in Jacob's Discord. Yeah. Dude, we've been in that Discord. I've been in that Discord 2 years. I just met the kid for the first time in person. Yeah. Right? So, those options are out there. Stop. That's a limiting belief. Like, go on the internet, find out who you want to be surrounded by. Follow these other groups. So, like, if there's, you know, maybe there's 25 guys and 8 players or 50 guys and 8 players, but maybe they have 350 followers. Go look at those people that are interested in potentially joining. Yeah. And that's a great place to start. But don't rely on your hometown Instagram following that you're getting 100 likes a post on and think like, oh, these kids like my post, they fuck with me. No, 90% of them don't actually want you to join. They don't want you to get any higher than they are. I talk about this all the time. I had a very long-term friendship that I had to cut ties with because I realized out of everyone in my life, they were not the ones that were clapping for me when I win. They were always the one putting me on this pedestal of whether I was dialed in or not, or I was doing better than them. And it was super unhealthy. And be acknowledge boats, you know, like whatever they say, cut the ties, cut the boats. I dropped the
rainbows.
What is it called? No, it's like damn,
too much heroin.
Yeah, too much heroin. But God, it's so bad. Yeah, like you got to be willing to cut the ties. There's certain people like going on the God thing. He brings everyone. I always say God brings people into your life not by coincidence. Everything is on purpose. Some people are there for a time, a reason. Some people are there for a season, right? It's a simple cliche, but it's so valid, right? And it's so valid.
Then you kind of fit up, get in one more dish that I was like, yeah, there was times when I was growing where like, I needed to ask some question where I didn't know what to ask. Like that's what like creators for like I'm there, probably enjoy what you want to go through. So like and there's other like 30 or 40 other guys in there who are like, if you feel a certain way and you don't know what to do it yourself, you ask that question, so catch like that, so you having to figure out yourself. If someone that already has figured it out, so
100%. Now, what do you think is the most important trait as a sales rep to develop based on your experience and also people you've been able to lead?
Biggest trait.
You know, we talk, there's certain intangibles with sales, but I would say, you know, where do you think people should be putting a majority of their time as a trait they need to develop if they're going to be successful at it?
This is not talking about too much, but the biggest trait that you need to be top sales of is understanding yourself more than anything else. Because a big mistake people make in sales is they try to be like someone else. If I try to sell like you, I'd probably be shit sales rep, and you try to sell like me, you'd be a bad sales rep because you're not speaking authentically, as it comes back to that. People want to buy from someone they trust. So it's like that ability to understand yourself, how you talk on a day-to-day basis, how you walk, your body language, understanding that and maximizing that in a sales call. Because people try to be someone else all the time. And there was a guy in a sales call today who was an introvert. And he was like, I'm an introvert, etc. And I'm like, some of the best sales guys I know are introverts. They're so good at channeling their way of speaking. And it's just a bit different. We just need to understand you have it in you. You just need to understand enough. And then another thing is experiences in life. Because a lot of stuff I talk about in sales calls are analogies, or where I've been to build rapport, or like the things I've gone through. If someone's done something, I did that too, because I left my fucking room and I traveled the world. I went to like Greece for a summer for like 4 months with like no money, when I was younger, and like just get out, travel, because the more experience you can create, the more likely you're going to be able to connect with somebody across the world. So just like create experiences, please understand yourself when you're creating the experience as well. So create experiences and find yourself.
I mean, it's called fucking self-confidence for a reason. Yeah. Like, you know, when you're confident in who you are and what you're bringing to the table, people can feel it.
Yeah.
They trust you more.
Yeah.
If you don't trust yourself,
With yourself, yeah.
then
It's just a persona. They're going to be through it, yeah.
they can see through it. If you're trying to be Iman, or you try to be Arlen, right? Those are some of the most complex people because they have such a deep authenticity to them that they've spent years cultivating.
Yes, because people try to be the Iman of now. People don't understand, okay, do you want to be the Iman of 16 to 24 or through trying it like before you made his first million?
Yeah.
You have to let them 4 or 5 years of character building beforehand before you can even recognize yourself. And you're trying to be like someone who spent 10 years building themselves like Aaron or like Iman, and they're trying to be like them straight away. It doesn't exist. So you have to go through your own trials and tribulations and so on and find yourself, because authenticity sells.
Authenticity sells 100%, man. As well. Now, all right, kind of our last question. I always like to ask people, what's one question you have for me?
One question you have for the help us listen for the most. What's one thing you changed about your work situation right now?
I don't know.
I mean, you regret.
I wish I did differently. No, I'm always very, not to like answer it a stupid way, but it's just like, I guess I've never had a problem with accountability. I know I'm exactly where I'm at because of the things that I chose to do and the decisions I decided to make. And that has never been a issue for me. I always felt like I have to learn things by experience. I can't just take what somebody says to me as word, because they can have all the experience in the world. But unless I experience it for myself, I have to hit rock bottom or I have to fail to really feel it. I mean, if I wanted to change anything right now, I would say, or from the past, is just a better attention to detail, and basically taking a more systems. I would say something I'm working on is something I've been developing this year, which is probably why, honestly, the success has probably come quicker. Like, I relaunched my own offer within, like the last 3 months, and saw more success than I saw kind of the first 4 years, quote unquote, trying to run a business. And it was because I started to put the systems first, and I started to really got honest with myself of, okay, your client comes in the door, they book an appointment with you. What can they expect? What is their game plan to be successful? And I realized I'd always just kind of been winging it, as in like, again, like I was getting the reps, but I was kind of just like through this winging process. So when clients would come in the door, and I heard you guys talk about it, like when you're on an agency call, or like when you hear sales reps on an agency call, they're just trying to decipher what this person needs and then sell them everything. Yeah. I had to get really honest, like, no, what are you an expert in? What do you love to do? And how can you genuinely help people? Yeah. And heading into January, I took about 2 months off between the last offer, 2 or 3 months off. And I just tried to meditate on those things. And I realized I'm a LinkedIn expert. I'm a really good connector. Yeah. And I know how to build, authentic brands on social media. I talk about it all the time. I have 1,700 followers. It doesn't stop me from booking 3 to 5 calls in my Instagram DMs without even trying, right? Because they know what they're getting when they work with me, and they know I don't give a shit that I don't give a shit that they have 10,000 followers, or I'm not expecting, I'm not trying to get to 100,000 followers before I sell anything. I'm more saying, no, I'm going to be really honest with you about where I'm at and what I'm an expert in. And if you bring up anything else, I'm probably going to say no. Yeah. I get on the calls with people about LinkedIn consulting, and if they're like, oh, can you help me run ads? No, but I have somebody. No, but I can connect you with somebody and you can do your own research. I'm not working with them.
Those are different backgrounds.
Right.
And
instead of trying to be like, oh, I can white label like I used to do, where I'd be like, oh, well, I mean, I know a guy in ads and he would only charge me $500 a month. So like, I'm going to just upsell this person for $1,000. And it never fucking worked out. A, those deals never closed. B, if they did close, the attention to detail and the success was shit. But if I more just use it as an act of service, like, hey, maybe you're not a fit for LinkedIn right now, but you've been talking about Facebook ads. Here's a great guy I know that's freaking killing it.
Everybody would be big at some stage.
Right? And I'm like, I'm just going to connect you guys. And naturally, I know the universe brings it back.
Yeah, you get more long-term business. Like short-term might buy you now, some long-term like work out for you. Because people like specialists. Like if you want the best closer, you're not going to go and look for an SDR who can close as well. You're going to look for the best closer, and like people just like buying from specialists. If you want your non-know, you just go to somebody who's most knowledge, not just it cuts everything. And it's like, yeah.
If you're going to a restaurant, you're looking. My buddy's dad put this in my head, right? It's like if they don't have at least a 4-star review and they don't have 1,000 ratings, he's like, I'm probably not going there. Or that they don't have 500 people who can support that, or XYZ, like that have like literally voice that these people are who they say they are. Like, it's not worth it. But in our world, it's like we talk about like 100 true fans all the time on the show. And it's like when you get 10, 20, 30, 50 people who genuinely believe in what you're doing, they're going to talk and they're going to bring other people and they're going to refer you because people buy from people. And I don't, like I said, I know anybody who hits me in my Instagram DMs and never closes, because I don't, unless I can directly go to somebody that's worked with them and say, hey, this person reached out to me. Are they who they say they are? And sometimes people say fucking no. Yeah. And I don't respond. And I'm just like, okay, I'm good. I don't really need this. I had a guy in my DMs today, didn't follow me, hits me up with a DM that says, can we talk? And I was like, do you want to talk or do you want to sell me something I didn't ask for? Didn't respond. No. Mark him off the list. Yeah. Right? A, you're not a good setter because that's not how you approach people. B, like, that will never fly. I have no trust built with you. I talk to people on the LinkedIn consulting side all the time. I'm like, unless you have the featured section built out in your LinkedIn profile that says you are who you say you are, nobody has trust with you. Unless you have mutual connections, nobody's going to trust you. So, yeah, I think I don't know where we go with that, but yeah, it's a good question. I mean, where I was at.
That's the way to reach out to people cold, is just giving them something first. Like,
yeah,
like we always give like free PDFs, 8-page PDFs, like 8, so you don't want to scale out. Like, that's how you like, hey bro, just want to pop us over your way, and hopefully they'll help you scale your agency. They say thank you, and you have the conversation from there.
Provide the tools, sell the implementation, right? Do you want us to do it for you? Great. My time is worth X amount of it. Find out how much you're worth an hour, right? I talk about this all the time. Like, literally, I put out a tweet the other day where I did the math. I said I'm spending about an hour a month with each client, and I'm getting paid X amount. The numbers come out to even where I'm at with my profit margins. It's like, if you're not worth $100 an hour, or if you're not willing to pay me $100 for my time, an hour a month, then it's really not even, I'm not going to deal with it. I'm not even going to entertain it. And like, people are like, oh, that's cocky, that's XYZ. No, I've done the work to realize that, yes, if I give you one piece of information and you close 5 deals with it, it is 100% worth listening. And I have that self-confidence built. And I think people would rather see that. Yeah, man, this was good. Any final thoughts as far as this conversation? Why should people, I need to get better at this. Why should people watch this episode now that we're an hour in and we're about to wrap this up?
Why should you watch this episode? I think you should watch this episode because it's the beginnings on the spectrum. And I know for a fact that I honestly feel bad. I know for a fact, like myself, I know it's going to be something big. He's only in the first 2 podcasts that we're doing, but I just believe myself 100% in it. I know I'm going to get there. I know people like dinner for me or like, etc. So if you're watching this, there it is. That's not in the set.
Awesome. And I love hearing that because that's my whole goal with it. It's like, I'm going to be doing this for 100 years. Me and James are going to have probably 10 more conversations. And ideally, like I always say, somebody asked me in the last podcast, like, what's your end goal with this? I was like, if I'm sitting healthy at 100 years old and I'm talking to former guests and we're able to pull back, remember when we were 20 and 23 and what we were talking about? And now we've built these just legacies. It's like that conversation is going to be totally different. So, yeah, man, I think this was awesome. Relationship building, sales, talking to God, how to deal with women, how to approach relationships as an entrepreneur. I think that's a huge topic. We kind of we hit on so effectively. We talked about our egos getting in the way. We talked about certain habits we have. It's not easy.
We hit it all there. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we did. We nailed it. But that's why I love doing this. And thank you so much for having us, Dave.